In this video, we're going to look at how to determine the possible input and output values for a situation. Our first situation is the number of popcorn kernels left unpopped is a function of time cooked. So we know as time increases, the number of unpopped kernels is going to decrease because more of the popcorn is going to pop. And so our input value here is going to be time, and our output is going to be the number of unpopped kernels. So the number of kernels that are unpopped depends on how long the popcorn has been cooking. When we have this is a function of in the sentence, the input is always what is coming after is a function of, and the output is what is coming before is a function of. So in terms of determining what numbers are possible for these, there are a couple of things that we always want to consider. The first is whether or not fractions or decimals are allowed for the values for input and output. The second is whether negative values would be allowed. And along with that, we also want to consider whether 0 is allowed. So looking at our input, which is time, we could have a fraction or a decimal for time. So it could be something like 5.5 seconds. We could not have a negative value for time cooked. That wouldn't make sense. It could be 0 because if the popcorn has not been cooking at all, if time is 0, then all of the popcorn kernels will be unpopped. So for our input value of time, it could be any number greater than or equal to 0. Or we could write that with a variable. If we let t be time, then t is greater than or equal to 0. For number of unpopped kernels, now for that, I would have to have a whole number. It would not make sense for it to be negative, but it could be 0 because we could have 0 unpopped kernels left. Now, when you make popcorn, you know that that's not really possible. You always have those unpopped kernels left at the bottom, but technically it could be that there are 0 unpopped kernels and every single one has popped. So output could be any whole number greater than or equal to 0. For weight of a box of pencils in grams is a function of the number of pencils in the box. My input is number of pencils. And my output is the weight in grams. So the weight of the pencil box depends on how many pencils are in the box. Or as I put more pencils in the box, the weight is going to become greater because it's going to be heavier. Now looking at what I'm considering for possible values. Number of pencils would have to be a whole number. It could not be negative, but it could be 0. I could not have any pencils in the pencil box. So number of pencils has to be a whole number. Greater than or equal to 0. Now for weight in grams, I could have a fraction or a decimal for weight. Something could weigh, for example, 20.3 grams. It would not make sense to have a negative weight, and it also wouldn't make sense to have a weight of 0. If a pencil box had a weight of 0, then it wouldn't exist. Everything has at least some weight. So for the weight, that could be any number greater than 0. I'm not saying greater than or equal to here because it could not be 0. So I don't have the line underneath the greater than symbol. But any number greater than 0.